Hello, everyone. I've had enough of my computer's being dumb, so the countdown music's gonna have to stop, unfortunately. Well, welcome everyone to A Round for the Weekend, powered by Belly Up Sports and a part of bellyupsports.com. Thanks for joining. Tonight, I am joined by the ladies. I've got ladies. I got ladies in the corner with me, in the bar with me. I want to welcome Shannon Walsh, who is our basketball head at bellyupsports.com and also a hockey enthusiast. And joining her is Meg, who is also a hockey enthusiast. Ladies, how are we doing tonight?
Pretty good. Thank you.
Yeah, all right.
No, a bit of a confusing afternoon with rental cars and getting prepped for this, but happy to be here, ready to go.
All right. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's yeah, anything having to do with cars today. I've been digging out of snow since yesterday afternoon. So this is a welcome break, that's for sure. So actually,
yeah, I know Meg's in New York or New Jersey as well, so she's pretty much surrounded by snow.
Oh,
except I'm not. So I am along the beach. So I'm on Long Beach Island. So I just got like coastal flooding and like losing power that way. So like we couldn't go down the main road yesterday to save life. So I'm excited to see the snow though.
Well, I was just about to ask which part of New Jersey, because I was born in New Jersey. I'm a New Jersey Devils fan. So I see you're wearing a Pittsburgh sweater.
Oh yeah.
I suspect that Shannon's wearing her Bruins gear.
I am, yes, yeah.
I'm wearing my ugly Christmas sweater hockey jersey because Christmas is right around the corner.
So it's a Devils ugly jersey?
No, this has no patch. It's just a blank jersey, but it's still really awesome and ugly, which I like.
Fair.
So the first thing I do on Around for the Weekend is I go over what I'm drinking. So ladies, what y'all drinking tonight?
I have a nice lemon White Claw.
You're banned. Get out.
That's just the type of girl I am.
Shannon, what are we drinking?
Yeah, I've got I haven't opened it yet, but it's the one of the most popular beers in Utah. Makes a seltzer, so I'm finishing up this package. This is the raspberry flavor. It's not my favorite, but we're pretty big on trying the different seltzers that Harris Teeter might have when we're not going back to our favorite classic beers. So trying to cut the carbs.
the teat. I frequent when I'm in North Carolina. I frequent Harris Teeter. So it's a nice store. It's a good store. It's got a decent beer selection. I'm not so much into seltzers. This will pretty much be the closest thing I have. It's from Champion Brewing Company, shower beer. Literally called shower beer.
That's pretty good. I've had it before.
I've had that.
It's a Czech Pils. It's awesome. It's got a little rubber ducky.
Yeah, I bought it for the rubber duckies, but it ended up being really good.
Yeah, like the best beers have really cool cans. Exactly. So you know how good the beer's going to be based on how cool the can is.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So let's pop one open. Uh-oh, there goes my pop filter.
There we go. Shannon just went in for it.
Told you it's been a long day.
Shannon's in it to win it. Oh yeah, that's the stuff. All right, let's just gonna get rid of this because it's just distracting now. All right, so tonight is a very special episode for two reasons. First reason is because it's the last show of 2020 for A Round for the Weekend. I know you're all very disappointed. All three of you viewers are very disappointed, but we also have a second reason for having the ladies on, and I'm not sure which one of you want to do the announcement. So go right ahead. The floor is open to you.
Yeah, I mean, I'll let Meg announce our official launch date since we finalized that earlier today. We're pretty excited about it, so I'll let her dive right in there.
Yeah, we have a hockey podcast under Belly Up coming, Slapshot Sweethearts, starting New Year's Eve, the 31st. You can find us. We're going to be breaking down the hockey season, starting right before the start. We're ready. Bring it on.
All right. Congratulations, ladies.
Thank you. We've already got our social media up and running, so you can find us on Twitter and Instagram. We'll share that with Ryan so he can tweet it out if he definitely has already, but so he can do it again.
I'm bringing up the screenshot right now.
Perfect.
There it is.
Totally love to see.
Thank you.
Slapshot Sweethearts. Beautiful.
And then we'll be dropping some teaser information and trailers and a little bit about us in the coming couple weeks over the holidays before our first episode. So look out for that as well.
Yep. There's the Facebook, the Twitter page. Excuse me. You can find them at @sweethearts pod. So these ladies are going to talk about all things hockey. Look at that. Look at that. You got 174 followers so far. That's awesome. I'm jealous.
Twitter's been great. Very welcoming.
All right. So we're going to move on we're going to get to know these ladies a little bit more. So Shannon, we've been working on Belly Up you've been with Belly Up for about a good, month or so?
A little bit longer, since August, I believe, September.
Okay. And right now you're the head of the hockey department, but I'm not the hockey department. I'm the head of the hockey department.
So you're the head of the hockey department.
But you're in the basketball department. But why? But what's your love of hockey about? What is it? Just because you're from is it from because you're a Boston fan? You're just a Boston person? I mean,
yeah, go Boston through and through. That's where I grew up. But when I was younger, I went to a Providence Bruins game, the minor league affiliate, and I wasn't completely into sports. It was just something to do with some of my friends. We got free tickets, and I absolutely fell in love with the game and everything it had to offer. It's one of those, Dunkin' Donuts Arena is just one of those small arenas where you can go right up to you can go right up to the ice, and the players will throw pucks at you no matter what the age is. I have half a stick from Matt Frazier, if you remember when he played in the league. and stuff like that. So I ended up going to Providence Bruins games all the time. I've been to a bunch of Bruins games, both in Boston and in DC, which is where I live now. Although they don't beat the Caps often, it's still nice to see them down here. So I've just been a huge hockey fan ever since, and that kind of grew my love for the other sports as well. So I can kind of attribute hockey as my first love in terms of my sports addiction.
Very cool. Very cool. Meg, how about you? What got you into hockey?
My dad, actually. My dad grew up right in Pittsburgh. He was always a Penguins fan. I was not as into it when I was younger because we lived in Jersey and there was no Penguins fans around us. But I always held true to it. And then when we got to college in DC, I started going every time the Pens were in town. And more often than not, we would beat the Caps at the time. So it was always a nice win to walk through DC and throw back Lemieux and just screaming how good we are. So
I can respect the throwback Lemieux. I can respect it.
I know. I was just I was like, people are gonna think I'm wearing a Crosby, but I'm not. Like, I don't do that.
Nah, super. The owner, man. It's the owner. He's the owner.
Yeah. Oh,
so
the best.
I've already got some comments in the comments section. So Hardcore Honeys, our internship interviews were loaded with Boston fans. LOL.
They were.
It hurt.
It
hurts.
I mean, and Mike and our boss Mike Brown, who's one of the co-founders of Belly Up Sports. No one likes Boston.
No one likes Detroit either, Mike.
And Craft Brewed Sports. I'm gonna be on their program. I'm gonna be on their program on Wednesday, but they chimed in. They've chimed in already, and they've said respect the Mario love. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I respect it. Begrudgingly, as a Devils fan, I respect it because he's the only NHL player in history who scored 5 goals 5 different ways in one game. It was against my Devils. So he scored a power play goal. He scored an even strength goal. Was it shorthanded, empty net, and penalty shot?
Wow!
All 5 ways. Yeah,
one of the best. He's also one of those players who's just like widely respected. Like you can hate on pretty much everyone, but like Lemieux is just someone who everyone has like some mad respect for.
Yeah, Grassroots Sports. That sounds like an Al Bundy style. It's not 4 touchdowns, guys. It's not 4 touchdowns in a high school game, but it's pretty darn close. All right, so we're gonna do that hockey for probably the majority of our time tonight. I know ladies got plenty of time to talk some hockey, talk some hot topics. First of all, when do you think the season when do you think they're going to actually announce that the season's going to start?
I mean, they're leaning for that mid-January start, but I think it's going to be kind of a hot seat once they see the NBA start and see that they're kind of keeping the COVID tests under control. I don't agree with either league not going with a bubble, seeing how successful it was, but if the NBA can keep the cases under control and travel the way that the NFL has sort of been able to do, then I think the NHL is going to be on a pretty hot seat in terms of starting the league and getting everything under control. They haven't even really had a lot of their major players sign their contracts because they don't know what's going to happen yet. So I think there's a lot pending in a bad way.
It's also difficult because dealing with the teams that didn't get to play when we came back, they have all these like negotiations going around. Like, do they get more time to prepare because they haven't played in a while? So it's like even from when everyone's ready, they still need all this time for the other teams to get back into it, to have a short preseason, which the longer we wait to start that, the longer we have to wait for a season.
Yeah, they actually did say that the 7 teams that didn't make the qualifier last year were going to get, I think, a 3-day head start.
Yeah, I heard like 3 or 4.
Yeah. So here's to hoping that they, I don't want to stand outside of the NHL building with a boombox like John Cusack did and say anything with it playing "In Your Eyes" by Peter Gabriel in a trench coat. I don't want to do that.
You might need to.
I might need to. I mean, I've got New Year's Eve off from work, so thank the heavens for that. So let's talk about some of the other things in hockey. Other things going on in hockey right now. Henrik Lundqvist unfortunately had to opt out this season because of a heart condition I had no idea that he had. I mean, did you ladies know about this story? About this condition?
I didn't know he had a heart condition. I knew that he wasn't, not new. I presumed he wasn't going to last particularly long in Washington just because he's at a higher age. They're looking for a long-term solution, which will probably be Samsonov. Samsonov was already playing fantastic over Holtby, and they were just trying to find someone to, play kind of the 50-50 goalie role, which is becoming more and more popular. So I didn't think he was going to last particularly long, but this is a huge blow to Washington for a team that's really trying to solidify themselves as one of the top tier teams in the East. And they're doing it by the skin of their teeth, but like not in a way if they can't have a reliable goalie situation, which was one of their biggest weaknesses last year.
Totally.
Yeah, it's a big blow to not only the Caps but also to hockey in general. I mean, Henrik Lundqvist is one of our popular athletes in the NHL. He's one of the more popular guys, and he's a well-respected guy, both on and off the ice. And as a New Jersey Devils fan, as he played for the Rangers for so long, but you can't be mad at the guy for doing all these tests, doing all he can, especially with COVID being around. That's one of the big things about COVID is that I guess it affects the heart depending on your medical history. So it's very sad that he has to opt out this year. But here's the hoping that he gets better, and we'll get to this COVID thing sooner than later. I mean, the vaccination's out. That's gonna be one of the big topics too between the Players Association. I been listening to 31 Thoughts. Have you listened to 31 Thoughts by Jeff Merrick and Elliot Friedman?
I haven't, no.
Okay, that is a podcast you want to check out because it's run by Sportsnet in Canada. Okay. And they have the rights to Hockey Night in Canada, but Merrick's been there for a long time. Elliot Friedman, who was on CBC for a long time, they started this podcast together, and they've been going through for the last couple of podcasts the situation between the Players Association and the owners and with Gary Bettman. So I think vaccinations is going to be one of those hot topics coming in now that it's available. Everybody's getting a shot, but I guess the NHL has said that there's they're not in a hurry to vaccinate their players, considering some of the side effects might take place. So, and
I think one of the two prongs to that. One, it doesn't surprise me that Henrik Lundqvist opted out just because there's so many question marks with COVID and with how the season's going to be structured. It's one of the major reasons that some of the older players haven't re-signed, like Chara and others. But going back to the vaccines, the NHL is one of the larger in terms of international players, and it's a huge mess in terms of those types of rights with if a player can be back. They're not U.S. citizens. It would be a huge legality issue, I would assume. I'm not an international law expert. I would assume it's a huge legality issue in terms of vaccinating, some of the players and some not. If you try to vaccinate and it's not legal in some countries, I honestly don't know, but I would assume it's probably something difficult that the NHL, if they're not ready to say when the start date is, they're probably not ready to tackle that either.
Yeah.
Yeah, and having not just one team from Canada, like that causes a whole new issue. These teams either aren't going home or playing at home for another season, or they're going to have trouble coming over. So that's going to make it a little more difficult too.
Well, yeah, they just released the new tentative divisions with all the Canada teams playing each other, which I think is great. It's an awesome solution if you're not the Blue Jays or the Raptors and you have to go play in Canada. But it also really screws with
limiting.
Yeah, it screws with how the rest of the league, who is used to playing, like the Bruins are used to playing the Maple Leafs, blah, blah, blah. How that kind of plays out in terms of what you're used to, what teams those types of rivalries. It'll just, kind of ripple through.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that came out this morning, per Emily Kaplan and ESPN, that said that sources say that Canadian-based teams in the NHL may play in the United States because of issues with their own health authorities. So you could see you might see teams sharing arenas or Canadian teams playing at neutral sites. I wrote an article, shameless plug. I wrote an article a couple weeks ago on Belly Up Sports to get kind of things rolling with the hockey coverage. And that was one of the big things is the Canadian teams having their own division. But what if they were to play in the United States? Would they have their own arenas, or would they share arenas? So that's one of the big things that's kind of come into play now, especially over the last 24 hours.
I mean, one of the things I really liked about how the NHL did their bubble last season was that they did separate bubbles for each division or conference. The NBA didn't do that. And I mean, they played on separate courts, whatever. That doesn't really count. But in the NHL, they did separate divisions for each conference. And I think that would work particularly well here, especially if the Canadian teams have to play in the US. Why open up travel to a bunch of different cities that have already not signed on for the liability of NHL travel? I don't know that makes sense for the US to bring that on as an additional risk when they could just put it into a bubble form. But I am not the commissioner, so
no, I wouldn't want that job either. Meg, any other thoughts? Any other thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the divisions right now, and it's just like it's so difficult with like, especially some of them that are so spread out. Like we're pretty like separated across the country, but there's still so much space there. So like I don't really see a scenario with traveling within divisions only. Like what Shannon's saying, like, we kind of need a bubble for each of them. We kind of need everyone to be centralized because there's just so much risk with everyone kind of having like free reign to their entire like coast almost.
Well, that's one of the big snags is that the players don't want to bubble again.
Yeah,
they've already been that experience. They've already ridden that ride. They don't want to ride it again. That's probably one of the big
family
snags.
Separation, especially for an entire season. It's a real
dream.
Yeah, because it's such a long season. Like it's one thing when the NBA went back, like that wasn't too long, but here to play an entire hockey season without seeing your family is just a lot.
Well,
so
even
it's kind
players
of risk
left
reward
because they couldn't. Like I know for the Boston references, but Gordon Hayward left because his wife was giving birth. Tuukka Rask left because he had family. Yeah. Family health issues, both of which were huge blows to their teams. But if you're going to play 70, if they play the full season, 80 something games, that's
56
a
games.
huge ask for,
56 games.
They already cut it down.
Okay, 56. I could only remember the NBA cut down. Then that's a huge blow on a family and their separation. I know that at least for some leagues last year, they allowed family to come in at a certain point of elimination, but you still wouldn't be able to do that for 6 months, 5 months.
It was the conference finals. They could start seeing having family come in.
Because it's only 14 by that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I could see the league saying wanting to cut down liability. I mean, the players have already given up so much so far. They deferred 16% of their salary last season. The league's asking to take another 10% deferral. Now, this is not a pay cut. This is a deferral. So once this season ends, they go into 2021, 2022, when expansion comes, with Seattle coming into the league. Look at that money. They'll get all that money back. But then there's a whole thing with legal thing with escrow and all this tax stuff. My mind's too small to really wrap around tax law and all that stuff. But another thing that's happening is that the Sharks might be opening a training camp in Scottsdale, Arizona, because Santa Clara County still has a ban on contact sports. So because the 49ers in the NFL had to go to Scottsdale to play in Arizona Stadium. So there's still that ban on contact sports, which it just makes not a whole lot of sense to me. But what am I?
Yeah, especially at that level. Yeah, especially like the professional level. Like I understand for like non-professional sports, high schools, young youth sports, like I totally get that. But like when you're at a level of like professional athletes who are being tested all the time and all this stuff, like you do at some point have to understand like just moving, like they're just going to go somewhere else to do it. So why not keep your team?
Well, it's the same argument of closing restaurants at a certain hour. It's just going to make people go out earlier. It's not limiting the capacity.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, from what I understand, restaurants aren't a big indicator of spread, but again, we're not a COVID podcast. We're not a COVID. We're not scientists. We're not into the science. This is a sports podcast.
It's just like one of those things where it's like take the problem and push it over there.
Yeah.
Do you think, going back to your Kraken comment, Seattle Kraken, not the rum, do you think that the expansion has any sort of risk? obviously I want COVID to be handled as soon as possible, but assuming with the financial hit that each professional sports league is taking, that they're going to be able to execute an expansion in the time frame that they're looking at, because obviously it is a financial increase once it's executed, but the execution is an investment as well.
I feel like they've come so far already. Yeah, like it's just so established. Like I think if it were a year ago and this had been happening, which like almost was, but like if COVID had started a year sooner, then yeah, I think it would have been pushed. But I think because of how far they already are along in the process, it's going to be hard for them to turn back.
Yeah, and plus it'll be $500 million that the NHL would be saying, yeah, you don't give us payment now because the expansion fee goes to all the teams, all the other 31 franchises. So that's about roughly a little less than 20 mil per franchise is getting this franchise fee.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not a math podcast, Heather.
No, Megan just took her stats final, so she can do it all for us.
There you go. With eyes closed.
One day.
So one more story I kind of want to bring up, and I don't know if either of you have heard about this story, but there was a push by this professor in Canada to change the Canucks logo, the Orca logo, from the current logo to a different logo. I don't know if you saw the Twitter screed that he went on. Apparently he's a professor. He's some sort of professor at the University of Manitoba. He feels it's cultural appropriation for the Canucks to use this Orca for the logo. There's been some arguing back and forth. I personally think he kind of went in a roundabout way to say that he doesn't like the logo and should go back to the old logo, the C logo, with the whale. But as someone who identifies as an orca, I can use that. I can wear that jersey. I'm just kidding. Don't cancel me. I'm cancel proof anyway. So I want to know what's your opinion about this story about this sudden move to have this logo changed.
Yeah, I saw it on Twitter and I didn't go too deep into not his actual thread, but we follow a variety of Canucks fans and I saw them kind of responding to it. And I was a little confused. What? They thought it was a joke. They were like, what is appropriation about this? Like, this is going too far. And although I don't want to minimize anyone's concern about cultural appropriation, I would need to see more research into why he believes this is the case and if it actually is, a group understanding or if it's just him feeling a certain way. I think that there are a variety of sports logos throughout professional and college sports that is logos and names that should be changed prior to the Canucks, personally. I think if we're prioritizing teams that should rethink their branding because it's offensive, I don't know that I would put the Canucks on top. I don't think that the NHL in general has a significant issue with that. I don't think in terms of the league, although they do have a slight problem with bringing in players of minority, I don't think that their branding has a problem with appropriation.
Meg,
yeah, I haven't read too much into why this would be considered as so, but I did kind of read a thread on what the claim is, and I've seen they've kind of come to points where they're like, okay, well, we can tweak it, but this is still they're not arguing the team name, just the image in sort. So it's where's the line there of you can still be called this, but you can't use the image. It's not so which is confusing with Washington for football. You have to scrap the whole thing. What Cleveland might have to do, or they said they will do. Cleveland Indians, should do. But it's kind of it's a weird take on kind of looking at cultural appropriation in a sports team because it's not all the way there. It's just saying part of it. So it's just difficult to make an assessment of is this okay? Is it not? Kind of where is the line that's crossed here?
I'd also be curious to know if the professor felt that his identity was being offended or if he just felt it was offensive.
Yeah. And why now? Because I feel like it really only came up with Holtby. Like everyone had done this before him.
Mask. Yeah, because originally he started with Holtby's mask. He used he designed a mask that had that I guess had some native art, but had some First Nations artwork on there, and people were just very angry about it. But I mean, did he get permission from a First Nations tribe in that area? Did he get did he have some consultant out? I guess now he's getting consultation to come up with they're collaborating with a First Nations artist for a new design. He actually apologized. He went and apologized for it. So
but it's also like they have had goalies in the past that have had something similar, is what I saw, but I'm not knowledgeable enough about it to know the difference for it.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously support Holtby consulting the local tribe and region. I think that he should have done that to start with, and I think that that's something that teams should be doing on a regular basis in terms of their branding and everything that they're selling. Every team that's using some sort of regional culture should be doing that to begin with. But it was interesting to me going back. I'd be interested to see what the tribe was saying besides Holtby's mask in terms of the general branding of the Canucks. Oh, you have it?
I have something right here. Yeah, I actually looked at it yesterday. There was a grand chief of an Indigenous tribe. It's on CTV. I'll tweet the article on our Belly Up Hockey page and just kind of say, hey, what do you think? So it says Grand, and this is quoting from CTV. Grand Chief Doug Kelly with the I can't read this. Stodo Tribal Council agrees it doesn't look like the First Nations art. So basically, they had a conversation. They didn't think it was offensive. And this is the actual quote from the chief. He says, "Is racism an issue? Absolutely. Is it something we should work on together to eradicate? Absolutely. But am I troubled by the Canucks logo? No way. Nope. No way."
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So what I was going to say was, although the Redskins name and logo were both quite offensive, there were a lot of people in DC that were Indigenous people or people that had lived through the classic Redskins era. Both felt pretty offended that they were going to change it because they had been a part of designing the logo itself. So they wanted it to be modernized to be less offensive rather than just scrapped all together.
The logo itself, from what I understand, was actually developed and drawn and made by a member of the Blackfeet tribe, like a tribal chief with the Blackfeet tribe. So that's a messy situation in and of itself. And we did have hardcore honeys. I believe it's Jade who's running the account. She said, I think it's the style of the artwork and just insight because Shay, who is part of the hardcore.
Yeah, I was going to say I'd be interested to hear.
She's an activist with that community. So I mean, I would love to have her insight about this. I mean, I don't know how familiar she is with First Nations Canada and that situation, but according to this tribal chief, he says he's not offended by the logo at all. But it's good to see that Brayden Holtby is getting some input from a First Nations or Indigenous designer to come up with something.
It means more like an apology. Like I feel like so often people are just like, "Oh, sorry, my bad." But now that he's actually doing this, it kind of like takes it a step further and actually shows he does care to like.
Well, especially as a new player coming from a long-term tenure with Washington, he's showing that he's not just going to roll in and pick a cool looking mask, although many fans probably want him to. He's going to come in, he's going to actually, he screwed something up. He's going to come in and he's going to talk to the region and try to figure out what they want from him besides being a good goalie, obviously, and figure out what he can do to really engage them and make sure that he is supporting them in an appropriate way, which I really respect. It means that he probably wants to be there long-term.
I think he signed a 2-year deal with them. They've got Thatcher Demko waiting in the wings as their goalie of the future, but he's there basically as a stopgap until Demko takes over full time. At the end of the day, ladies, do you think that the Vancouver will change that the Canucks will change their logo again because of this, or do you think they consult with the local community there and they say, no, we're going to keep it. We've consulted. We got their blessing.
Yeah, I think it really depends on what the local community says. I think if they come to an agreement that this isn't offensive to us, we get where this person is coming from, but it doesn't really offend us. If they have that blessing, I feel like they should be fine to move forward. But if after that conversation and input from the community, if they do agree that there should be a change, then they definitely should.
Yeah, I would agree. I think as long as they're being receptive to what the community wants, they're their fans. Like if they're sitting there keeping a logo that their fans don't want to see and they're offended by, that's just bad business. It's poor marketing. So, I mean, beyond the fact that it's incredibly like offensive and potentially illegal for them to continue doing that, it's not, if they want to keep a fan base, they should consider what their fans want to see. However, like I said, of the sports branding from professional sports out there, the Canucks have one of the least offensive ones that could be of concern that I've seen. Again, I am not the group being potentially appropriated, so I can't speak for them, but their logo is so generic to begin with. So I don't know how the logo itself it's one of the most boring logos I've ever seen. So like, I don't know how their logo itself is super offensive. The mask, another story.
Yeah, I mean, I as someone who's a practicing Christian, I could ask the New Jersey Devils to change their name and their logo. I won't, because I'm a fan, and B, I just don't care. plus it's based on a local legend in New Jersey. Look it up. Google it. Google New Jersey Devil. It's a local legend.
Tree.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Actually, I didn't know
That Devil Tree.
Yep.
I grew up in that town.
Hey, all right.
Here I was just thinking that the Devils were a late add to the league with a
Come hang, Shannon.
generic mascot. We'll factor that into our top 5 mascots we're doing right now.
There you go.
Never.
All right, ladies. I got one more question, and we'll move on from here. We're cutting to it's a little after 7:00, but we'll in Eastern Standard Time, which is the true time zone in the United States. FYI. Oh yeah, I went there. So once the season begins, once we have things getting going, we have a shortened season, which is fine because it doesn't have to do with a lockout or a work stoppage. What's your biggest hope for the season? I'm going to give this question to Meg first. What's your biggest hope for this coming season?
I mean, personally, I want to see the Pens back at the top. But in general, I feel like hockey's just kind of ready for a new wave of top teams. I feel like it's been pretty consistent with who has been leading, who makes it far in playoffs, and who takes the cup is kind of almost predictable. But I'm just ready for like kind of a new wave, teams that have been under the radar to come up and like prevail. And like, it's a COVID year. Every sport has kind of had some surprises. So like, I want to see some surprises here. I want some teams that I wouldn't even know their mascot to come through.
How about you, Shannon?
Yeah, I think Megan made a really good point saying that the teams, the environment has flipped a lot in COVID right now. And I think that was really evident during the bubble playoffs for the NHL. There was not a lot of passion when, after being out for months, all fans wanted to see was, gritty hockey. And that's not what they were seeing. So I think going into the upcoming season, I really want to see that electricity that we were kind of missing in the bubble come back. And I'm really hoping that will kind of fuel some new stars that we're not used to talking about. We talk about Connor McDavid, we talk about Nathan McKinnon, all these guys all the time. And then, the old great Sidney Crosby, Patrice Bergeron, whatever. But I want, those young guys, like we just had an NHL draft and you could have scrolled through Twitter and not even known it had happened because it was in the middle of COVID. They were talking about restarting the NBA and the NFL is kicking off. And no one even knew who was drafted in the first round, which is super frustrating for those guys. I can't imagine how they could have felt. So I'm really hoping that this is a new opportunity for the younger generation below Connor McDavid, which, just makes me feel old by this point.
You
really,
feel old? You feel old?
Yeah, I do.
Sometimes.
It's a new generation for me and Meg to feel old. I'm really hoping that those guys can come step it up and change not the face of the NHL, but really bring us a post-COVID environment and bring back that electricity that we're kind of missing right now.
You know what else I want to see? I want to see a solid stadium series.
Yes.
Like we're not getting. Yep. I'm missing it. Like I'm so used to Road to the Winter Classic. I miss it. Bring it back. Like give me something outside. Give me something to be excited about again.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who are supposed to be the next two for the Winter Classic or the Stadium Series. I'm trying to remember.
They kind of paused it because a bunch of teams are considering playing outside all the time, like 10 of them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I know for New Jersey, I mentioned this in Belly Up Sound Off. The New Jersey Devils are right down the road from Red Bull Arena.
Oh yeah.
It has an open top stadium, and it's mostly domed, but it's got the open hole at Red Bull Arena for the outdoor elements. So you can bring in a healthy, you can bring in 25% capacity, and it's still about 7,000 people because you can see 25,000.
I think I said this on Sound Off too. The Caps are right next to DC United Stadium, and it's brand new.
Field. Yep.
I don't know. The Penguins have floated the idea of playing in Beaver Stadium. Let's do it.
Where would they train?
None
of those guys live there.
I want to see that
Penn State has a beautiful hockey arena.
Yep.
I think fantastic facility. I'm gonna wear my Penguins. I'm gonna wear a Penn State hockey jersey.
I've got one. I've got a Penn State hockey jersey.
So do I.
Nice.
And that arena I'm a Penn Stater. That arena is beautiful. They can train there, play there. Even the Penn State hockey team is doing great. They won the Big Ten last year.
They sure did.
Bring it on, Shannon.
Auburn doesn't have a hockey team, so I've got nothing to offer you.
my school just started their sports program 4 years ago, literally 4 years ago. So,
well, our college that Shannon
our
undergrad doesn't have football. So
they don't even have my school doesn't even have football. They have
ours didn't.
My alumnus doesn't. We have soccer,
and they're awful.
Soccer, basketball. They have an ice hockey intramural squad. They have a club hockey. They don't have a big hockey program. Volleyball. They're bringing in baseball soon. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, we had nothing for undergrad. So it's convenient now in grad school that we both have top-notch athletic programs.
That's basically why we picked. It's not the education.
Yeah, that's why we went to grad school.
Not the education. It's the fact that I want to see a sports team win.
Yeah.
No,
it's something to fight about.
Hey, wait! Listen, I'm all for a meetup at Penn State when people can go to places again. I'll bring my jersey.
I have a beautiful grandfathered parking spot right outside the stadium. Let's do it.
Awesome. And I'm hoping for a stadium series at Beaver Stadium between Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. That would be a fun game.
Well, where was the one 2 years ago played between Pittsburgh and Philadelphia?
Oh boy. Kev just chimed in. Top-notch athletic programs. Yeah, okay.
I could kill him. I could go all the way to the Tri-Town and kill him.
Let's fight. I'm ready.
No, he's fighting me because he's a Bama fan.
He's a Bama alum, and Shannon goes to Auburn.
We also, Meg, for context, both went to high school together, so he's just chirping at me.
I was going to say, I get a lot of hate for Penn State athletics, but I will literally fight anyone.
Because he's an Alabama fan, so.
Well, you know what? No one wants Bama anymore. Let's not even consider them this year. I said it.
Oh, here we go.
Quote me.
Oh, he said middle school, but anyway. For context. Anywho, so my biggest hope is that we'll have fans in the stands sooner than later, especially with the vaccine coming out. Hopefully, in the hot spots around the country, COVID cases will go down. I'm hoping that we can have fans in the stands because last year with the bubble, it was all right, but the can. I'm still not used to can fan noise with NFL with any of the
really bad
NFL.
I don't know if you watch soccer, but it's really bad.
It's weird.
It's awful. It's awful.
It kind of takes the fun out of exciting games. I feel like and I'll go back to college football for this. Like a whiteout in Beaver Stadium, like you can't recreate that from like a noise machine. Like that's not happening.
Yeah, I think, and that's sort of going back to my point about the NHL bubble. I mean, the NBA is having the same problem. There's no defense in the game right now. They're just going back and forth taking shots because there's no fans to motivate them. So they're just seeing who can score the most. But the NHL is having the same problem. It's breakaway after breakaway because no one cares enough to skate at full capacity. They're just like half-assing it because there's no one hyping them up. And
there's no show to it.
I'd love to be at the Verizon Center or TD Garden or wherever, hyping up those guys. Even Wells Fargo.
For sure.
Yeah. I would talk about this during a meeting today for work. The last day before my office shut down, I was at a Pens Devils game at the Prudential Center in like the second row, and I was like banging on the boards. Like you can't recreate that.
No,
there's nothing like it.
Okay, Kevin wants to defend Alabama.
You want to let him in? I've got time.
I must defend Alabama. We love you, Kev. It's okay. All right. Anything else, ladies? I'm going to leave the forum to you. You want to shout out your socials? You want to shout out anybody who's watching? Anything else you have to add? The floor is open. Shannon, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We're really excited to get started. It's been super fun so far. Like I said in our bio on our website, this has been a really great opportunity for Megan and I to get super close again after, going to college together and doing Greek life together and all of those messy things. So the one other thing I do want to ask you guys before we go off, Ryan just brought to our attention in the hockey chat that the NHL is looking at helmet advertisements this season.
Oh yeah. We forgot to mention that. Yeah,
I'm not into this. I hate this so much. Like,
I want to see what you think. Like the worst one, the best one. Like
we actually have an article going to be dropping on Belly Up in about. I'd probably say sometime tomorrow about it. One of our contributors wrote about it, which will be fun.
I'm just looking forward to it.
I'm stressed.
Because I know the NBA has some dumb ones, but like I'm picturing like, Manscaped on a helmet. Like
see, that would be fun for certain individual players because it would just be hysterical. Like I would want to see guys I would want to see individual players promote their own brand. Like Tyler Seguin has his 9-1 brand. I want to see him put that on his helmet. Hey, that's my 9-1 brand. I can
imagine someone I can't say Brad Marchand because him and Kevin Miller have their own like hunting clothing brand, but there are others that are super. Like Tom Wilson would do something wildly inappropriate.
Tom Wilson can do no wrong in my heart. But like,
actually, doesn't he own a coffee shop somewhere in DC? Like I read an article on The Athletic about he's obsessed with cold brew. Like he makes his own cold brew, and I guess he wants to own his own coffee shop someday. It was a really interesting article about right away
when I said Tom Wilson coffee shop.
I was gonna say if he does, then like next time I'm in DC, like we're going. But I'm just saying.
Okay, I've actually asked a good question. How long until a team gets a Barstool / Spittin' Chicklets logo on their helmet? It's gonna be a Boston team. That's gonna be a Bruins.
Well, no, Barstool just moved to Philadelphia. Actually, that's his big right now.
Didn't originate in Boston?
They did, but then he was big on Ohio, and then because he already has the market built in Boston, he doesn't really need to advertise there. And then he moved to Ohio for a while, and then he moved to New York. So they've kind of got markets set up in those three areas, and they just moved to Philadelphia. And so all of his pizza reviews, I follow Dave Portnoy on Twitter.
I got my sister a ornament from One Bite for Christmas.
All of his pizza reviews have been in Philadelphia. So I tried one
up here in Albany. He was actually up here in the Albany area for a pizza review. I can't remember when.
He came to interview the president. He didn't review any of the pizzas, and I live by like 3 really nice pizza places, and I was so excited to hear if his pizza reviews were bullshit or not. And he didn't do anything.
One bite. Yeah,
they just moved to Philly, and so all he's doing is blasting Philly sports and Phillies. Like he did that huge fundraiser for Reading Terminal Market and all those types of things. So I think he'd probably try to work with the Flyers if anything, but I don't know. He's super.
Get rid of Gritty. Bring in Portnoy.
Oh, I mean, Gritty they could just put Gritty's face on a helmet and they'd make money.
You know what? If Mike's still watching, if our co-founder Mike's still watching, can we get a belly up sticker on the back of like the Columbus Blue Jackets helmet? That would be swell.
Yeah, Mike, for sponsorship, take note.
Get up on that, Mike. All right, so let's. Kev's back. It would have to be small teams. Bruins have too much history. I look at Zona, Winnipeg, Nashville.
Nashville's a good option.
Nashville's
a great market. Nashville's a fantastic.
I was just looking at their jerseys, and I was like, if they get someone good who I already love in the next few years, I could get a jersey for Nashville.
What do like the nerdy cities do? Like the weird, like in the cities that have small markets.
Nerdy cities, like San Jose.
Give me a list of nerdy teams, Shannon.
The Devils.
Let's go Devils.
The Sabres. Like who the hell is up in Buffalo like looking at a Barstool ad? Like that's not happening. Sorry, Sabres fans.
They don't have anything else to do.
Yeah,
that's true because it snows all the time.
Yeah, like what else are you doing?
That's true.
And for the record,
Columbus, pretty like I
give you that one.
I want that campaign. I want that campaign to go, Mike. If you're watching, campaign to get Belly Up Sports a sticker on the back of Columbus Blue Jackets helmets. Do it. Let's do it.
Find me a city to call the nerdy city.
The problem is like Minnesota is like a really big market because they have a huge hockey market up there, but like for the US, they're like a random team. Like,
yep.
All right. So we've had our share of hockey, but we want to keep things spicy around here at Belly Up Sports, which is why we're going to give a shout out to Hoff and Pepper hot sauce. Hoff and Pepper is handcrafted with farm fresh jalapenos and habaneros. Hoff's original hot sauce has gone on to win numerous awards and gain international recognition. Hoff and Pepper always strives to create sauces and seasonings that enhance flavors with balanced heat profiles. Every one of their handmade products is manufactured in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and is naturally vegan and gluten-free. So if you're into that, you can eat it. Shop today at hoffandpepper.com. When you enter promo code BELLYUP at the checkout, you'll save 10% off your purchase. So, and by the way, Hoff and Pepper hot sauce is excellent. I'm giving it off.
I have a package downstairs with it in there. I'm pretty excited to try it, actually.
Yeah, which flavors did you get? Did you get the regular stuff?
So they were doing a Christmas promo. They're probably still doing it. I'll just keep plugging them.
Buy 3, get 1 free?
Yeah, so I got 2 gifts and I got 1 free, and I also got their dust seasoning.
Okay.
So I'm excited to try that. It seems like a seasoned salt, which like I am a go-to.
Chef Shannon. Chef Shannon.
Yeah, if you want to follow my personal Instagram, I post food all over that one.
Nice.
Oh yeah, and it looks good.
Fancy that. I'll definitely check that out. All right, folks. So thank you for joining us this weekend on A Round for the Weekend. I'm going to take 2 weeks off because next week is Christmas, Birth of the Savior, and the week after that is New Year's Eve. So I'm going to be enjoying myself both those days. So there will be no A Round for the Weekend on those days. However, let's connect on social media, facebook.com/BellyUpAFTW, Twitter and Instagram @BellyUpAFTW, YouTube, AFTW Belly Up. And here's a weird thing. Like this week, I had a Twitch account. I deleted the Twitch account for Belly Up, and Periscope all of a sudden said, "No, we're going to go away on March 31st of this year." It's like, are you kidding me? So now I got to create a Twitch channel again. So starting in April, this will be moving to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. So ladies, for Shannon Walsh, for Meg, and me, your host, Ryan McCarthy, have a great weekend. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And although this is empty, I'll see you a seat at the bar. Ladies, cheers. Enjoy yourselves. We'll see you next time.
Cheers. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.